So, hi guys, this is Amir, your host for today, and I would like to welcome you for this panel discussion where we're going to discuss the best practices and techniques of social media marketing for small businesses. So, we hope that today it's going to be a discussion of agreements and disagreements, and we are agreeing to disagree on certain topics. So, so to start with, today's event is brought to you by Designhill, which is world's leading creative marketplace that caters to the creative needs of businesses and individuals alike, who can source high quality designers from the talented designers across the world. We are serving in more than 180 countries where our designers come from. And you can also buy unique products created by these independent artists on our shop. So I would like to thank all our guest speakers for today's event who have taken the time out from their schedules to be part of this panel discussion and help businesses and entrepreneurs grow through social media marketing activities. So moving ahead, let me introduce our panelists for today. We have with us Andrew Crestodina. He's the co-founder at Orbit Media Studio, which is an award-winning 40% digital agency in Chicago. We also have Brooke B. Sellis, founder and CEO at B Squared Media, which is an award-winning social media advertising and customer care agency. Please, guys, say hi to the audience.
Hi.
Hi, everybody. Glad to be here.
Everybody. Yeah.
So Dorian Morin, we have with us. He's a social media consultant, a certified agile marketeer, community manager, and keynote speaker. We also have Kate Payne, personal branding coach, helping authors, speakers, entrepreneurs, and independent professionals stand out online to become recognized authorities in their industry. Please, guys, go ahead and say hi.
Hi there.
Hi, everybody.
Thanks for joining us.
So finally, we have Christian Downer, Zoom meeting trainer, currently helping business owners and organizers use Zoom in a safe and effective way.
Hi,
I'm Christian. I'm sure a lot of people will have a lot of questions for you in terms of Zoom security and the ways to use it effectively.
Yeah, definitely. Nice to see everyone.
Yeah. So apart from a lot of the dollars that you guys have been making, you have also got a lot of press coverages, which I'm sure the audience is going to ask you about. So thank you so much, guys, for taking out your time and joining us for this panel discussion today. So before we start, let's quickly look at what Designhill is all about.
Looking to get your boss to remember your name? Head to the world's #1 creative marketplace, Designhill.
When my company promoted me to head up our latest real estate development project, I was excited, then anxious, then petrified. How was I going to hire the team, get the designs completed, and design beautiful presentation materials on our lean budget while impressing my bosses, some of whom are still learning my name?
Good job, Mitch.
My name's Lawrence. That's why I went to Designhill and got the design help I needed that fit within my company's brand guidelines. The process was simple. Designhill's design contest ensured I'd get a ton of results I'd love. Start by picking a number of designs that inspire you. This one's good, and that one. This one speaks to me. Then share some information about the project. Lastly, pick a package that fits your budget. Do you just want a logo, or do you want it all? Then, boom. I got more than 60 custom design options to choose from, as well as all the other graphic design assets I wanted. And it's all backed by Designhill's 100% money-back guarantee. If I don't find a design I like, I get my money back. You can't lose. Now I have what I need to make a splash in my meetings. With everything from business cards, pamphlets, posters, and more. It's real.
Let the world know it's real and build your brand with Designhill. Need to get your parents off your back? Head to the world's #1 creative marketplace, Designhill.
When I started my photography business, I needed something that said this was more than just a hobby. It's not a hobby, Mom. That's why I went to Designhill and got an amazing logo super fast at a price I could afford. The process was easy using Designhill's logo maker. Just enter the name of your business, then pick out a number of designs that inspire you. I'll pick this one and that one looks cute. Then pick your colors or let the system decide. Add some more info like a slogan, the industry your business is in, and your budget. The logo maker, using machine learning and artificial intelligence, will design thousands of logo variants that you can choose from and adapt. In fact, I was able to get everything from business cards to t-shirt design and complete social media kit, all with the click of a button. With that, I'm all set. Now everyone I meet knows I'm a legit photographer. Even my mom. It's real. That's decaf.
Let the world know it's real and build your brand with Designhill.
So welcome back, guys. So let me start with the first point of discussion and the question for today's panel discussion. When it comes to deciding the right social media platform for a business, how to go about it and what factors should one consider while doing it? I'll ask this question first to Brooke, and then I'll take it to everybody else to add on their opinion.
Yeah, I think understanding your audience is very important. And I also think it's often a missed step when it comes to figuring out what platforms to be on. So I think one of the easiest ways to kind of figure out where you should be is to do a little bit of research, which means listening and finding out where your customer base is online, but also ask them, come up with a quick survey that says, hey, what social channels are you using? And you can even incentivize them to answer the survey with like an Amazon gift card or something. But don't just blindly go join Facebook because it's the biggest platform out there, because your audience may not be there, and then you'll be wasting your time.
Okay, so Andrew, what do you have to add to that?
That's an excellent answer. Obviously, start by listening. Also, I think keeping in mind the goals, there are social networks that are really difficult for promoting content. Instagram doesn't really let you add links. Keeping in mind which social networks are more conversational. Some are better for networking than others. It's not necessarily true that B2B does LinkedIn, B2C does Facebook. I would look closer than that. But the ideal social network isn't just a place to dump links. I mean, it should be a place to have conversations. So yeah, look where the influencers are of your audience. Think about the goals. Think about the outcomes. That's what strategy is a goal-focused plan.
Okay, so Dorian, do you think that all of the social media platforms mushrooming over the period of last 10, 15 years oddly, do you think that some platforms have performed better in terms of the expectations of some business owners, and whereas some platforms haven't done much better for them? And what is the criteria to decide that platform for your business?
So I love what both Brooke and Andy said about, listening to your target audience, but there's another piece to that that's really important. You have to understand what your resources are. There's small businesses who have people tell them all the time, oh, you should be here, you should be there. People come to me all the time. My friends told me I need to be on Pinterest. And then we go look, and I'm like, well, Pinterest is really time sensitive, time intensive. So it takes a lot of resources away from other platforms. So you really also, besides looking to see where your target audience is already talking, you also need to understand what your marketing budget, what it has available, and the resources and the people to do the work if you want to be there. Because the worst thing you can do is go to a platform and not do it right. So I think that's another really important piece to this. So I always look at, target audience, but also look at what you have available right now. And if it's not available, if you say you want to do Pinterest and you think that's a good fit, but you don't have those resources, put it in your 6-month plan or your 12-month plan. We're just going to start easy, but in 6 months, we want to start really ramping it up. So really look at your overall budget and your resources as well.
I think that works pretty much great for the small business owners. Let me take this to Christian. Christian, it looks great, having all those logos of all the social media platforms in your marketing collateral, and I'm sure on the footer of the website also. But do you think this strategy really works of distributing the same content on all the social channels, or do you believe that each platform has its own value and own audience, and that's how the small business owners should optimize their strategies on all these social platforms?
Yeah, so as a social media manager, I'm sure the other people on the panel agree with me, there's nothing more frustrating than when people post something on Insta and then they put it onto Facebook and they keep the hashtags in the same places, and it doesn't look right. Same with, if you're going to put something on Facebook and then you put it on LinkedIn, it doesn't look right. And often clients we have where they're struggling to be on more than one platform, it's because they're trying to take, they've learned how to use one platform and they're trying to apply exactly the same logic to the other platforms. With our clients, we always tell them it's better to crush one platform focus there than it is to try and spread yourself too thin. So yeah, definitely you want to treat each platform like it's got its own audience, its own voice, its own style, its own tribe, if you like, and not just try and be boring and spread it across the whole place, because your audience can tell when you're being lazy and just spamming stuff out there.
Okay. So, Kate, let me ask you this. I mean, current times, Corona times, when small business owners are very struggling in terms of getting their business right and, generating that cash flow. So what do you specifically suggest for small business owners who have the customers in their vicinity? I mean, let's talk about the restaurants for that matter. Let's talk about saloons and all of these business owners. Like there's millions of them in US only and elsewhere in the world. So what do you suggest for them who have the audience in the vicinity? Which social media platform they should optimize on, and how can it help them?
Well, it also goes back to what everybody said about your target audience. So whether it's a global audience or whether it's local, like in your backyard, like you're referring to, you still kind of need to understand where those people are probably spending their time online. And so typically if it's a restaurant or a local business, a lot of people are using Facebook, maybe Instagram, maybe even Pinterest, depending on what they're doing. So if you know where your target audience lives and plays online, then you want to make sure you're there. I work a lot with LinkedIn, and so there's still an opportunity there for anybody, again, globally or locally, where you can really be making sure that you're positioning yourself as the go-to person in that world. So, for example, in our country right now, a lot of restaurants are dealing with the COVID pandemic. And so if they can be putting out content that is talking about the type of people they serve and the type of food they serve and all of that stuff to kind of build buzz so that when they reopen, people are excited to get back out there, then they can be using that time to kind of get some of their story out there and start to rebuild buzz for their businesses.
Okay, great. Let me ask this question to Andrew first, and then I'll take the opinions of others as well. Andrew, I really want to ask you this question that, when people and business owners start their Instagram accounts or any social media accounts on platforms for that matter, they initially get success because of the customer base they have, and they really kind of snowball in it. But over the period of time, that initial success they find it, they think it's because of the quantity of the content that they are posting, right? But over the period of time, if that quantity of content that they're posting is overwhelmed and it's not supported by the quality of that content, all these social media platforms penalize them, and their posts are not seen by people all across the world. And it's very difficult to digest this fact that people it's intrinsic that they believe that more we post and more people are going to see it and more engagement we are going to generate. So what do you have to say to these people, and how can they strategize it in terms of reaching the audience at the correct time and on the correct platform and through a right manner?
And likes and comments, social media might be very frustrating because the organic reach of any specific post might be only 1 or 2%. So keep in mind, you can build this following and you share, and then only a small percentage of people are really going to see that because social networks throttle back the organic reach of anything. They're trying to push you toward paid. If your goal is conversation, if your goal is to interact with humans and to talk to people, you're going to enjoy it. You're going to have a lot of fun. I mean, no one really tries to measure the ROI of their phone, but social media is kind of like that, right? So if you want to just make friends, interact, network, do influencer marketing, build relationships. So I think that, yeah, I mean, if you're, there are lots of tricks. I mean, I could give you 10 ways to get more shares, likes, and comments. There's including lots of mentions. There are making sure that your social bios give people a reason to follow. There's strong visuals. There's being a little bit provocative, using unexpected words, triggering emotion. All these things will improve your organic reach a little bit. But ultimately, that's not necessarily social at all. Social media should be interactive, conversation. Every post in social is either promoting something that was created, curating something someone else made, or having conversation. Creation, curation, conversation. So I'd really try to emphasize that last part, like the rest of the panelists here do every day, and make sure that you're talking to people and listening.
Okay. So Kate, do you agree with? Yeah, please go ahead. Please, Brooke, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say I would add too, make sure that you're looking at the data. So make sure that your decisions are data driven. I think when it comes to content, a lot of times we go with gut. We say like, oh, this is pretty, or this story is going to do so well, or we want to talk about this new thing that we have. And instead of using data, we rely on our gut, or we rely on groupthink to have us post what we're posting. When instead, we run a simple report every week internally. We call it a seesaw report. It's where we look at the top 3 performing posts of that week and the bottom 3 performing posts of that week. And we try to uncover micro trends and patterns on that content. Why did it do well? Why didn't it do well? And over time, what we found is that we can deliver better and better content because we're letting the data and the audience tell us what they want us to talk about versus just using those gut checks.
Okay. So Kate, Andrew here says that it's more of a conversational, a genuine, heartfelt conversation with the audience. And Brooke believes that it's more of a scientific way to reach out to those audience and build up your social account. So do you agree or do you disagree, or do you have your own opinion on that?
You were asking me, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I think it's both. So I'm going to play Switzerland here. It really does. It matters on both. You've got to pay attention to the data. And then I also would probably stress the human piece, of which, Brooke's all about, human-centered AI, but I'm all about the human piece too, the connection. Like, we're all way beyond, we're all way more than our job titles. We're also human beings. So what's that little nugget of your story that helps you to be the professional that you are? Incorporate some interest there so that you do build those relationships. And that when people think of you, they don't just think of you as your job title or your industry, but you as a human and a professional with your reputation, your integrity, and your values.
Okay. So Christian, when you post something on your social platform, do you keep time buckets in mind? And do you suggest people to have time buckets according to their audience and the geographies their audience comes from and the kind of business they are having?
Yes, I think my answer is going to kind of echo some of what's already been said, in the sense that you need to be thinking about your audience and when they're most likely to be online. So one of the things that surprised us recently was we were running ads for a landscape gardening company on Facebook, and the time we get the most responses to the ad is 11 o'clock at night. And that's because people are sat in bed on their phones, they've switched off, and they're, and then they see an aspirational garden and they're like, yes, I want that. So, and that challenged certainly even our behavior and what we thought was going to happen. So I think I don't like prescribing a time when you should be posting, like, 7 in the morning on LinkedIn. I say try them, but kind of, mix it up a bit, kind of like Brooke said there with the data, look and see what's working, and try and not second guess, but use that to guide you when you're creating your content in the future.
Okay, so Dorian, before you come on that, I would just like to mention that I was just interviewing one of the marketing gurus out there, who also happens to be an expert on social media and digital marketing. So he mentioned that there are a couple of buckets that people should have, like 4 buckets in which they should post their content. For example, that he suggests that a lot of people use cell phones and social media while they're waiting at the red light or while driving or something, which is a dangerous fact in itself, but that's kind of true. I'm sure a lot of us in some point of time have done that already. So he says that there is a bucket of, let's say, 4-5 seconds when people use that, and then they use it while waiting, standing in a line somewhere. Now the lines are going to be much lengthier, and the waiting time is going to be more. So there is an opportunity for social media experts like you and people who are listening out there, this panel discussion today. So that's when people use it, and once again they use it while in the waiting room, right?
Yeah. So what I would add to that is it goes really back to understanding not just who your target audience is, but their habits. For example, when I first started working with a local soccer club, they thought their target audience were dads. Well, turns out it's the soccer moms who are the ones who signed a check and bring their children. So when our soccer moms on social media, it's when they sit in the car pickup line waiting for their children to come home from school. So we started posting at 2:15, 2:30 in the afternoon in that state where we lived, because the school ended at 2:30 and all those moms were sitting there, and we got a huge response. Another good habit to know is that a lot of these moms, their kids go to bed the latest by 9. So 9 o'clock, these moms, just like myself, would be sitting watching TV, 9 o'clock show, and have a second screen with them. And so that's another great time to put something in a timeline. And there was a great study by one of the diaper companies that I want to reference. They realized that a lot of new moms were up at 2 a.m. changing diapers, and they had all these questions, but they were on their phone. They're either, bottle feeding or breastfeeding these babies, changing diapers. And that was a great time to talk to, especially very, very lonely and vulnerable people. So this company started posting at 2 a.m. because they realized that's when people were online. So not just knowing who your audience is, but understanding their habits is super important to understanding when you should be posting.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah,
please.
So the other, a lot of times people always ask me, what's the best time to post, which is what we're talking about right here. So I want to echo what Doreen said, but just remember, even if you did know the best time to post, you don't want to just always post during those best times because you're competing with everybody else's content at the same time. So totally mixing it up. One of the best times to post on LinkedIn, for example, is Sunday evening, like between 7 and 10 p.m. because a lot of people look at LinkedIn for the week. So don't, sometimes maybe post out during that popular time, but then also try to find all those other times that are not as popular and mix it up. And then also obviously what Doreen said about timing of certain audiences, I think that's key. It's brilliant.
Well, and I want to add to that. So the data that Brooke was referencing will also tell you what type of content does best at certain times. I found that for busy moms, Saturday afternoon is a great time to post something that's a lengthier video. Sometimes they're sitting on the sideline of the soccer, or, their kids might be out in the neighborhood playing. And so that's a great time to post something that's a little longer to watch. If they're during the week, they might be busy, they're at work, they're doing stuff for the kids, but on Saturday, they might have time to watch a 20-minute video. So that's part of that data you need to be looking at, not just when to post, but what to post when. So that will tell you as well.
And I would just add,
it's a very interesting question. Everybody wants the time. So Brooke, please go ahead and then we'll take it to others.
It changes all the time too. Like once you have your best times, I would not go off of a lot of the social media tools, which I love because a lot of them have tools within the tool which will tell you what your best times are. So it'll save the homework from you. But they'll also release here's the best time to post on Facebook or whatever. Don't go by those. Right. Get your own best times. And then also remember that those best times change constantly. We look every week at best times by client. So I would recommend that you put that little section of data on the front of your radar or the top of your list to look at often, because behaviors change constantly, especially right now with what we're going through in the U.S. as a society and a culture. So make sure that you're paying attention to those times. Don't just pick a time and then think that's it forever.
That's pretty much where I was going to hit. I was just going to say that we've seen big changes due to lockdowns and stuff like that. So we used to have a lot of our B2B clients, that sort of 7 till 8:30 in the morning commuter spot was kind of our sweet spot. But now, of course, nobody's commuting. So the behaviors change, so we're realigning our times to that.
I was going to add that if you want data on what's working for your audience, you need to have some frequency and volume. A lot of people are just way too hesitant. They're like, oh, I shared that article once, or I post I tweet once a day. Like that is not going to get you any data. That's not going to get you any traction. So I think a lot of marketers are too squeamish about the frequency and the volume at which they're active on social. And keep in mind, maybe 2% of your followers are going to see any specific post. So anything that you're serious about really promoting or getting out there, you need to be push your comfort levels on how often and how much you should be posting on social media.
Yes,
okay.
I agree.
Okay, so apart from the analytics and apart from getting the time right and knowing your audience and knowing which platform you should be posting your content on, I mean, a lot of people are asking us the questions here, and I have also this question in my list to ask you guys, how to cut through the noise, because it's not a secret that people are sitting home right now. Most of the world is under lockdown, and people are hooked on the social media, or they're checking all their channels and they're checking all the feed twice because there's no new updates, So how to cut through the noise when everybody is every business is posting online and they want to encash that this time, and they want to have the eyeballs towards their business and their marketing communication that is going through. So what are the strategies, what are the hacks to cut through this noise? Brooke, you want to add on that first, and then I'll take it to others.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of questions coming through in the chat about leads or sales. And I do have to say, you know, organic social media, so posting content to your Facebook pages, that's a long-term lead/sales strategy. You're not going to post a blog post and then have like 10 people be like, oh my God, I want to know about your services. So, you know, in my opinion, paid social media, so advertising on social media plus organic work really well in tandem. If you have the time and you have the budget to do both of those things, I think that's kind of the sweet spot, because we have a lot of people coming to us and I say, what are you trying to achieve? What's your goal? And if that goal has to do with leads or sales, you really need to look at advertising as well as organic media, because unfortunately, when someone sees a Facebook ad for your company, the first thing they're probably going to do is click over to your Facebook page. And if that's empty and barren, it's not going to look good on you. So my advice there would be to use both paid and organic media in tandem together, which is probably not the answer you want to hear.
So guys, what Brooke actually wants to mention is that, you know, you try out your organic content, and if your organic content is performing really well, I mean, that gives you a chance and which content you should be putting your dollars on in terms of advertising it, right? So if some people have liked it organically, the chances are that if you put an ad behind it, the money behind it, the more people are going to like content, because somehow your audience around your business is kind of the same, due to the principle of vicinity and the gravity. So Andre, would you like to add on that? Do you have any specific hacks or strategies you work to cut through the noise?
That definitely works to boost things, because you're instantly getting just far greater organic reach. And so we all have to consider paid, and I have a bias against it in my own marketing, but Brooke is 100% correct about that. I would say also, you know, people are, when posts were mostly text, people that did more images got better results. Now that posts are mostly visual, people that do video are getting better results. I get ridiculous traction from social media videos on LinkedIn. It's instead of just posting a thing, make a 1-minute commercial of you introducing that thing and add that to your LinkedIn post, talking about it, merchandising it, sell it, you know, give people a call to action in the video. It's like 1,000 clicks. You know, the video's live for like a week, like 20 plus conversions from one social media post. So video is, of course, huge. But then I just want to emphasize again, you know, like the networking aspect. Social is a great way to connect with influencers, and influencers have massive audiences. So use it to connect, like for PR, combine social media with PR. That's the best outcome, is that you build a relationship with someone who gives you 10x or 100x greater exposure through some mention or press or inclusion in a big piece somewhere else.
Kate, please add to that.
So I was going to say video too, just like Andy's did, but I'll take it another step. Video is great. Video, you can get a lot of traction with video on LinkedIn for sure. One of the things you can do is, if you're not going to if you want to go beyond just the 2 or 3 minute sort of tip video or something that you're going to do, is to do an interview someone else, interview an influencer, interview a colleague of yours, and then do it as a live. So you can do Facebook Live. If you want to do LinkedIn Live, you do have to apply for that. So that's not a given. But doing something where you're talking to other people and asking them about what they do and having a plan to learn from them and have them give a takeaway to your audience is another way to get traction. Plus, you know, you can tag the person you've interviewed, they share it. And so that's another way to cut through the noise too. And there's some great apps out there to use for titling, because especially if you use video on LinkedIn, if you have subtitles, you'll get further reach. And so there's titling videos, and then you can put like a headline. So there's a topic. So if somebody comes into it 2 minutes in, they know what it's about visually. So find ways to make your video stand out beyond just the talking head.
Okay. Kristen, would you like to add one more hack to this conversation and one more strategy?
Yes, so for us, it's always about making sure that your content is like hyper focused in on your target audience, so they know when they see it, it's for them, you know, and that, whether that be the graphic or the text, just making it clear. So, you know, one of the panelists mentioned, you know, mums, and, you know, you put that in there, you know, you've got make sure you make it really clear you're talking to them, talking their language, style, have something that's going to grab their attention. One of the most successful sort of viral organic piece of content one of our clients had was they posted up a picture of an ice cream van at about 3 o'clock, but instead of on a Friday, but instead of serving ice cream, it was serving Prosecco, the sparkling wine. And that just was huge because you just know that they were speaking to their audience, and that all the mums just went like, share, comment, they were tagging their friends and that kind of stuff. So, the average person is logging onto Facebook, say, for example, 70, 80 times a day, and they're scrolling up and down the height of the Eiffel Tower. So you've got to have something that tells them that they're, that you're speaking to them and it's going to be of value to them without them having to think about it.
Okay, Dorian, give us your secrets. I mean secrets. When I say secrets, I don't want to hear the blog stuff which people are just going to go through and read it from there also. We want your secrets. How do you cut through the noise?
All right.
I'm sure we have a lot of people watching us live here today. I'm sure that million others are going to watch it through our YouTube channel, and we are going to boost this obviously on our social media platform. So give them your secrets.
Yeah, thanks for no pressure here, right?
No pressure.
Oh, you've got lots of good secrets, Dorian.
All right. So I think one of the secrets is trying, we've talked about getting feedback, knowing your target audience, but also knowing their pain points. So understanding what makes them comment, like, or share, right? Because you want a reaction out of people. And one of the secrets is sometimes you've got to be a little bit sly and you got to provoke them a little bit because you really want them to take action. That's what makes people share. So instead of saying, and this worked for, a pretty boring industry that I worked with at a client, coaching, it was like a high level thing. And instead of saying, here are 7 tips how to get people to talk, it was like the 7 best ways to have your team members never give you any feedback. So the title was basically, opposite, negative of what you would expect. And people were like reading it, they were ready to get mad, but it's basically the same list. It was just making it backwards, right? So you want to provoke people. You want to say something that makes people stop the scroll. Like, wait, what did they just say? And then when they read, then they like, they comment, they share. So you really want to provoke people. You want to get people to take that action. So twisting your words, maybe some wordplay, but really provoking people to action is really a great way to get engagement and to get people to share. Like what Christian just said, instead of ice cream, there's Prosecco, like awesome. How awesome was that? So that's provoking them, saying like, would you want that? And knowing and understanding their pain points. They're tired, these moms, right? I'm a mom. I have 4 kids. I know exactly what it feels like Friday, 3 o'clock. So that was brilliant, right? Brilliant. So that's really understanding the pain point of your audience and really playing to that with your words and even visuals as well.
Okay, so guys, I hope you've got the secret here. Brooke, you want to add to that?
I have a secret.
Yeah, please. Now we have got the Pandora box open. We are hearing secrets from everybody. Please go ahead.
This is a big secret, but if you look at social media and you look at all the noise, right? We're talking about the noise on social, and brands in particular are very guilty of doing this. They speak in cliches and facts, right? So as humans, when we talk about how we form relationships with one another, we actually go way past cliches and facts. Cliches don't work. Facts, great. It's a fact, but that's not really how the relationship gets formed. When you think about forming a relationship with another person, you talk about opinions and feelings. And that's where a lot of brands miss the mark. You need to talk more about opinions and ask the opinions of your consumer. And you need to talk about feelings with your consumer. And this is B2B or B2C. This doesn't matter across the board. And I think that's the biggest secret out there. If you look at the brands who are most successful, they've moved way past cliches and facts, and they're talking about opinions and feelings with their communities.
Okay. So
I could disagree a little bit, or not disagree, but offer the counterpoint. And maybe it's just because I've never tried talking about. I should really dig deeper, Brooke. You're getting me good ideas. But with some of the best results I've had was by posting original research. the results are crazy. Like if you conduct a survey and produce a statistic that is unique to your marketing, and you make a visual for that, and it's got a chart, and the post is a question, then those tend to get a lot of traction in our case. It's like, but it's hard to do. It takes way more work. But if you can produce an original statistic or soundbite, there's a chart that goes with it. The chart is in the social post. Those are things that like journalists are looking for. Like if you're trying to get PR, that sometimes works well.
But I would think, Andy, that statistic still has to mean something to that specific audience, either shock them or surprise them. It would still have that
or sway their opinion.
Sway their opinion, right? Because if you just put something out that everybody already knows, then that's not something that would make them like, share, or comment. But if it's like, whoa, like I work with a company that does home security, and the one statistic that people don't know, or the one informational piece that we give, did you know that most burglaries take place between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m.? That's shocking to people. And so we use this over and over. Where are you? It's 11 a.m. Where are you right now? If you're not home, somebody could be burglarizing your home. Now, that's a scary tactic, but that's a piece of information, emotional, that helps them.
Yeah, I'll support that with two examples. One is I saw a headline. I used it in some presentations. It's like, the average American works 55 hours a week. Why click? Why share? It's just like it doesn't trigger curiosity. It's not really much of an emotion. A friend of mine has an SEO company, and they did a survey of delivery drivers for food, and more than half of them reported tasting the food they deliver. The headline was like, "They're eating your fries." It was viral. Yeah, right. See your reactions?
Yeah.
It's emotional.
Yeah.
It's like, so the statistic was, X percentage of food delivery drivers have tasted the food they're delivering. And the response was off the charts. Like New York Times, everyone wanted to interview them right away to get the data. So yeah, it has to be part of a story. The story should have an emotional hook. I guess the best results would be to combine these things, right? If you've got data and research, and it's an emotion, and it has a visual. I mean, these are you can deconstruct viral content and find a lot of these attributes.
True, I agree with you, Andrew, because there is a virality factor also added to it. Because then people quote your research, right? They give you research credits in terms of their social media posts and elsewhere. So that gives a virality to it as well. So guys, I hope you're enjoying this discussion. So before we move forward, I would like to give a quick shout out to Designhill, which is world's leading creative marketplace for organizing this panel discussion. Let's take a quick break of 3 minutes and keep this interesting conversation going. Stay tuned. We'll be back to hear more from Andrew, Brooke, Dorian, Kate, and Christian.
I've always been creative and always been an artist. As a young girl, I used to paint rocks and I used to sell them for $0.25 on the street. And I just fell in love with it. It just grew into a passion of mine. I started looking on the web and I came across Designhill, and they had a design contest to design a logo, and I entered it and I won. And I was like, oh, this is really great. I can pick and choose what type of logos or design projects I want to work on. And it allows me to be creative, keep my hands, with my tools and working. So it's kind of nice. It's really easy to use. You can scroll through the projects and there's sections that you could go by. It's really easy. There's a few clients who have come back to use the one-on-one projects. There's one client in particular, she owns a vintage shop, and I designed her logo, and she came back. She needed a design for a flyer, and she really liked the illustrations that I did for her, so she came back a couple of times with projects. I would recommend it, especially if you're a designer that's starting out and you want to learn from other designers, seasoned designers. It's a place to keep in the game and keep using your tools. It makes me feel great, and it kind of confirms that I should be doing this. And I love to see logos that I've designed out, and proud of that. And I think that the clients are so happy that their logo represents what they do and makes them look good. It's a collaboration. It's good for me, and it's definitely good for them.
Colormatics is a full-service video agency based around video production. We created a brand that fit our identity at the time, but as we've evolved as a company, we found that original brand didn't quite fit our aspirations anymore. Finding a partner to rebrand your entire company takes a lot of time and effort. Finding Designhill was an incredible lifeline. Designhill offers a money-back guarantee. If we don't like any of the designs, we get all of our money back. The stuff that we ended up with were well beyond what we had been seeing on other creative services platforms. After creating a simple design brief by answering some questions created by Designhill, we posted, and within a few days, we had over 250 entries. Designhill's platform made it easy to communicate with all of the potential designers. Eventually, we picked a winner. In addition to a logo, our designer also created a letterhead, business cards, and banners for all of our social media platforms. With Designhill's help, we now have a brand that meets our aspirations. We're ready for the future and everything that it's here to bring.
Hi guys, we are back. With us here today, we have Andrew, Brooke, Dorian, Kate, and Christian. So in first part of the panel discussion, we have had some agreements and disagreements, some counter opinions, and some secrets that we have heard from people that how to crack your social media marketing strategy. So in this section, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and then we'll take the questions from the people who are attending it live from the question section here. So Andrew, I remember you mentioning that adding a video content on the social media platform really helps you. But given the stats that I'm sure you would agree and everybody else would agree here that humans are having a lesser attention span even than a goldfish, right? So it's widely known fact that it's 8 seconds. So when you talk about the video content and it generates a lot of engagement, so how to grab the attention in those early 8 seconds, what we call in our social media ecosystem a hook, how to get that hook right? Please go ahead.
I wasn't muted.
No, please go ahead.
First of all, the movement is part of the hook. As the person, it's a thumb stopper. You're trying to slow them down as they're scrolling. So when the person's scrolling, if they see movement, they're more likely to stop. Secondly, you need to add captions, to Kate's point, because the person may not have volume. They have to tap to turn the volume on. So captions are also going to give them an indication of what you're talking about in this talking head video, the 1-minute commercial. I think that just being human, being personal, don't overdo the editing, just talk like yourself helps a lot. Just to introduce the thing and just say, hey, I made this. You don't have to be overly promotional, just explaining, I made this. I think it's good. Maybe you'll think it's good. It just be disarmingly genuine. So that's going to be, instead of a 3-minute social post, you're going to spend 30 minutes making a 1-minute commercial for your content with captions. That's 10x the effort. But the results are literally 100x in my experience, because these platforms are trying to get you to stay on their platform, and they know that that videos are more engaging. Separate from that, do we really have attention spans of goldfish? I can watch, Game of Thrones for 4 hours straight. I think there's reasons to believe that that's a bit of a myth, and that if the content's good enough, I have articles on my site where the average time on page is 10 minutes. So it's a question of quality. In the end, I hope the thing that you're promoting or the video you made or whatever it is truly helpful and good and engaging. Or yes, your audience might as well be goldfish.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah, please go ahead.
So on LinkedIn, actually, there's lots of data, especially in the last year and a half, that shows that long form content actually plays really well on LinkedIn. People go to LinkedIn to find more videos. They go there to read longer articles and blogs. They go there looking for business insights. So longer form content actually plays really, really well on LinkedIn. Now, that said, that doesn't mean all of your content on LinkedIn should be long. Again, mixing it up is always a good strategy. But some people go to Instagram for things a little bit more quick, and then some people go to LinkedIn for things that they expect to be longer because their goal when they get there is different.
Okay. Brooke, please add to that. You have a lot of clients whom you use the video content for. How do you get this strategy right? And how do you get this tool of promoting your brands on social media right?
Well, the hook is very important, and we do a lot of A/B testing with our calls to action, and I would recommend that you do that too. You can do that through organic social media posting. You can do that through blog posts. You can A/B test your newsletter titles. You can certainly A/B test advertising that you do. So I think, it's part of what we talked about earlier is understanding your audience. You may know exactly who you want to talk to, but I think ultimately what a lot of people are trying to do is to get a certain audience within that audience to buy or to convert. So a lot of time and focus has to be spent on your call to action or your hook or whatever you want to call it to make sure that you're using the right language that entices them to take action, whether that be clicking through on a piece of content or buying something from your e-commerce store. It's not an easy answer. So I hate to be giving like all of these difficult answers, but it does take time to understand what the right call to action should be for your content and advertising and social posts.
So I think Dorian has an answer to that. Please go ahead, Dorian.
Yeah, I was going to say, guys, a little bit of attention, like really like this, grabbing that attention, getting close to the camera and saying, hey, I'm here. Are you there? Something that stops people scrolling. And then you can say, this video that I'm making today is going to be about X, Y, Z, and then name the pain point. Then you've got them hooked. Then you can have your longer content. Good. But doing something, I have a big pair of orange clown glasses. Sometimes I'll get on video and I'll put them on. I always wear my orange glasses, but I've got props sitting in my office. Sometimes I'll just put my, my phone out. See, you can see cool things that I have that I'll grab, but just say, hey, I'm here. Stop what you're doing and come and have this conversation with me and look in the camera and get close. So that's your original question was, how do you stop that scroll? It's by being you, but doing something, because if all of us are sitting here like this and we're talking and we're not moving, we're going to get really boring. So use your hands, get close. Smile is another huge thing, because when you smile, your voice goes up, right? So this is something that I teach my clients. Before the camera goes on, you have to have a smile on your face because you sound very different. So when you go on video and you start with that, higher pitched voice, people are going to stop as well. So there's all these little things that you can do.
So Christian, would you please smile for us before you add, how do you add hook to the videos content that you promote?
So I agree with Andrew's point at the start there that, attention spans, it's as much, they do exist, but I think it's very much a case of you now have to earn that attention. So you have to stand out and, all the things that were being talked about just then to make sure people don't scroll past. But then once you have their attention, you have to keep earning it. And unlike say, when you go to a movie before phones and, they could tell a story slowly over 2 hours because they had your undivided attention. Now, if you're not entertaining them constantly or showing them that you're going to get to where you're going to go, then they are going to get distracted by that email or now they're working from home, the dog barking or the family or, just something else on their screen. So yeah, if you're going to, again, it comes back to that being targeted to what they want to actually read and or watch or engage with, and remembering that, nobody cares about your business. You have to make them care. Mm-hmm. You have to make them engage with that.
Okay. So I'm going to pick the questions from the question section here from audience. So we have a question which has got upvoted by 5 people. Natasha, she's asking, what are the etiquettes for answering the comments on the social media channel? Because let me just put that into perspective. I was interviewing one of the cannabis alchemists couple of weeks before. So he said initially all of these social media channels were really engaging and people were adding value, but over the period of time they have become like an angry tool, where people went out against your brand. Any problem they have, everybody is quick to respond on the social media platform. So they went out there. So what is the right way to engage with people overall, and specifically with the people who have some sort of negative comments to add to your business or just give a bad review? So Brooke, let me start with you first, and then I'll go to Dorian and Andrew.
Yeah, so as a company who provides customer care, which it's social first customer care. So what that means is we help companies do that social first responding to customer service complaints or whatever it may be online, it is so important to be responsive. If you look at a lot of the brands out there, even the big ones, they're not responsive, and you will lose your customer to someone who is more responsive. So I think you have to address all of those questions, especially if it's a customer complaint, and you need to do it quickly. There was a recent study that was done that said, 40% of consumers expect a response from brands when they complain on social within 1 hour. And most companies aren't set up to respond within 1 hour. But I would encourage you to figure out how to at least get a same-day response triage in place. And by triage, I mean weight those complaints or questions as like green, yellow, or red, parse them out, create processes around getting those things answered, because it will set you apart. It's so hard to compete on price or services. Anybody can create what you create or sell the same product and do it for a lot less than you can. But where you can really start to differentiate your brand is through that customer care and responsiveness through social. Show that you care about what the consumer is asking for or saying, even if they're complaining, and I promise you it will make a difference.
Okay. Dorian, please add to that.
Yes. So I'm a community manager, and as such, I manage several really big communities. And so what I've learned along the way is that you really have to read between the lines what people are really saying. So they might complain about one thing, but they're really worried about the other. So you definitely want to respond as quickly as you can, but you also want to have that empathy. You want to show that you're a human like them, that you acknowledge the fact that they've come to you with a problem, and you might not be able to fix that problem, but just acknowledging what Brooke just said, that you're going to fix it. So one of the things that we always try to do is take the conversation offline when it's negative, when something gets out of hand. Because here's the thing: when somebody complains online and you respond, 10, 15, 100 other people are watching what you're doing. So you're not just helping that person and showing your empathy, but you're showing the world how you take care of a customer. And that's super powerful. And I think that's what people forget, that it's not just that one customer, but it's everybody else is watching what you're doing and how you're responding and how you're solving this issue. So we often say, we hear what you're saying. Would you like to give us your email address or your phone number so one of us can contact you directly and help you resolve that issue? Or let's, come to Messenger on Facebook, or, DM us on Instagram. So you're taking that conversation away from where everybody else can watch it, but you have a response. So that's really what I would add to that, what Brooke just said.
Andrew, please go ahead.
Well, I have nothing to add on those ideas about responding to negative comments. That's obviously very important. One thing I would say about the positive comments is, if you're new to that social channel or your brand hasn't built a big audience yet, it probably makes sense to respond to almost everyone. Mm-hmm. And just anything positive said, just say thank you, just to create some bit of feedback loop and following and love. If you have a big audience there, no one expects you to respond to everything, and you won't be able to anyway. Also, I would watch to see when something gets reshared on that network, and then go comment and thank on that reshare, because you're trying to trigger the social media network to believing there's lots of engagement on this post, and then expanding the organic reach of that. So we're trying to trigger an algorithm, and to do so, I thank everyone who reshares everything on LinkedIn, because I can click and see who did it and then jump over there and say hi. And one last thing, look at who you're interacting with. And if they're an influencer or someone with much greater reach or bigger audience, jump across and connect with them on a different social network, not to get more traffic, but to build a closer relationship with that person. So if there's an influencer who you start talking to on Twitter, find them on LinkedIn and build several connections to that individual. It's not, most people think of social as one network connecting to many people. The best networkers connect to one influencer through many networks.
Okay. So, Christian, let me ask you this question. This question has been upvoted by 7 people. It's by Avis Smith. He's asking, I don't have a lot of time to post. I'm a solo business owner. I tried Tailwind, who scheduled it for me. What do you think about using the automated scheduling?
So I think the big trend on this has been that scheduling, the social media platforms hate scheduling, and so does your audience. Yes, you want to have some evergreen content that you put out and make sure you keep your consistency, but people like the stories. They like the real, the behind the scenes, the real, the in real time stuff. So I think that while scheduling has its place, it can make you lazy as a content creator, and you can rely too much on that. And particularly, we mentioned in one of the earlier answers about posting the same stuff on lots of different platforms. Those schedulers can make it too convenient to do that, and I think it's easy to lose track of your audience. So to kind of answer the question that was there, about I'm a small business owner, I don't have a lot of time, that's when narrowing down to the platforms that you can be the most impactful on becomes important. Because if you can just use Facebook or maybe one other platform and reach your audience, then great. Or if you can invest your time on LinkedIn building relationships with high influential or target audience connections, then that's much more impactful than trying to be everywhere and feeling stretched. What I love about LinkedIn is you can post once a week, and you can still, because of the algorithm, if it's a high quality post, reach lots of people. And same with the other platforms, Facebook, Instagram, you can make sure you're reaching people by if you put some money behind that one post a week, or 2 posts a week, you're going to have much more impact than if you just put out lots of mediocre stuff.
Okay. Please, Dorian, add to that.
I disagree. I think that you should definitely use a scheduling tool as a small business owner. You can really get your content together and have a good overview of all these different content buckets, promotional stuff, your own stuff, your curated stuff that you share from other people. And when you do that and put that together and really have a good mix of content, that leaves you the time to do what we just told everybody to do, is to have those conversations. Because now you're monitoring what you just posted, what people are saying. You can go to other places, and now you can be part of the conversation because the content's already out. I have found with my clients that if we don't schedule anything, most of the time they're not posting anything. So just having a couple of things scheduled doesn't mean you can't spontaneously go in and when you see something trending and share it on LinkedIn. That should always be the case when something happens, something newsworthy. But scheduling just allows you to have that kind of like that backbone of content for your business ready to go out, especially with evergreen things. And then it allows you a little bit more time to be in there and have conversations with your ideal audience.
Okay.
Yeah, I just say I don't disagree with that advice at all. I think you're right about the backbone. I think what we found with the one man or one person businesses is that they can become over reliant on scheduling, or it's easy to get over reliant on that scheduling and not, they think, oh, I've got something out, and not take the time to do the stuff that you mentioned there.
Kate, please add to that.
Yes, so I agree with both Christian and Doreen. Scheduling matters, but one thing I want people to be aware of is that, remember, when sensitive things happen, like the pandemic or the civil unrest in our country, if you have scheduled evergreen content, be sure that you go in there and pause it or turn it off or move it, because if you leave that stuff up there during times of a natural disaster or anything, negative or tragic, you can look really tone deaf and insensitive, and that can really hurt your brand. So make sure if you're doing scheduling, you're doing it in a way that you're still paying attention, still monitoring. You don't want to get lazy in any way whatsoever, and obviously still be spontaneous too.
Yeah,
okay.
I see there's a follow-up question from Esther of what I just answered. She said, when you plan your curation, you also outreach to people that you mentioned. For sure, when you curate content, if you find an article that you love, say Andy writes something, and I love what Andy writes, if I just post that without saying why I like it, that's not curation.
Exactly, right.
Right? So I have to say, I just read this article by Andy. It touched me because he said XYZ. I totally do that, believe that. What do you think about this? That's when you're curating. I'm tagging him. Now he becomes part of the conversation. That's really how that works. So curating content definitely has a place in your content marketing. But if you're just sharing it and just posting it somewhere without mentioning anybody or giving your opinion on it, then you're not really having a conversation.
Yeah, I would add, if anything that you do is just one tap, don't expect much.
Right.
You didn't work very hard. You didn't add any thoughts. There's no op-ed. There's no contribution, no value add. So yeah, that's expect. Effort correlates with outcomes.
Okay. So Kate, I have got this one question which is supported 8 times. I would really like to ask this question to you. How will I reach my customers to ask them which platform they're using? Veronica is asking this question. Kate.
How can you say it again? How do I know which platform I should be using?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
How should a person ask his audience or the audience that they're having that which platform that they're using most frequently, and then the business owners can promote their content and on that platform.
So that's a workshop in itself. So first thing you need to do is, if you know the persona of your target audience, you need to understand, you need to do some research, and you can do research on all channels. LinkedIn's a great place to do research using keywords to find the kind of people that you work with and sell to, and find out where they live online. You can actually go on LinkedIn. LinkedIn now actually has a polls feature that just came out in the last 2 weeks. Go online and ask people pointed questions in polls. You can do it on Facebook too. So ask polling questions to get people's intake on where they live online. When you have discovery calls with a prospect, make sure you're asking them all the questions that you need to ask them. You know, where is it that you mostly go online, and where do your clients go online? I mean, you've got to ask the questions and really try to find out. There's myriad ways you can do it, but those are the 3 that pop into mind.
Okay, so let me take this one last question for today's panel discussion. And I would really like to see hands up for the people who have experience and who could answer this question correctly, because this is a very industry specific question that we are having from Bruce. It has got the most upvoted 10 upvotes for this question. What would be the best social network for a hospitality and tourism sector? Can I see the hands, please? Okay, Andrew first, and then I'll take it to Dorian and Christian, and then Brooke. Andrew.
Well, if you're doing travel for a B2B audience, like corporate travel, then I would almost certainly use LinkedIn because it's plenty visual and you'll connect with professionals. If you're like a destination, then you need to just merchandise your place, just show it off. I would probably use Instagram and make sure that those photos are embedded into your website, so you get visibility for your Instagram posts for your website visitors.
Dorian, please go ahead.
I agree. Those were the 2 things that I would say. Instagram for sure. Now, if you have, say you're a travel blogger and you do something for either certain destinations or people follow you, you could also do like a Facebook group. That could also be a really great place for content and to grow your audience. But Instagram, that's a really great place for that industry.
Christian, please.
So yeah, I guess it comes down to the common theme of audience. So if you've got people, if your audience is people over the age of say 40, but it's B2C, then yeah, you're going to want to use Facebook, and particularly if it's locally driven and you can really identify that audience. I love the idea of the Facebook group that was just mentioned. I know that I'm in groups. I love Las Vegas, and I'm in those groups and I'm there. So if I had a venue in Las Vegas, I know that being part of that group and part of that discussion, not just spamming links and so on, but being part of the conversation and helping people and adding value, you're gonna get some long-term wins there. And I think in hospitality, there's bound to be people that wherever you are in the world are passionate about where you are. So yeah, try and find those people on those where they're most active.
Brooke, could you please add value to this conversation that we're having, particularly about this question? And I would really like to share an example from one of your brands that you have handled from the tourism and the hospitality industry, which can really help people to understand what you're trying to say.
Sure. So we don't currently work with any travel and hospitality brands, but the thing that came to mind immediately was Viking River Cruises, which apparently caters to 60 plus. I'm just an old soul, so I really want to do one. But if you are catering to a 60 plus audience, Instagram's amazing and it's such a wonderfully visual platform. But we all know that a lot of 60 plus year olds don't live on Instagram. So in that instance, if I were working with that brand, I would probably recommend Facebook, because we know that age group does exist on Facebook. But I also have to give a little asterisk and say, A/B test. Just because we know that age group is on Facebook doesn't mean that I wouldn't A/B test some advertising on Instagram as well to see if they're there, or to add some search in with my social ads to see, kind of where my audience is. So there is no blanket statement. I don't think we can offer you like a one size fits all answer. So I think, you're going to have to do some I like to give the hard answers. You're going to have to do some homework and some testing and look at the data and then decide, what's the best direction to go.
Okay. So, all right. Yeah, please, Dorian.
Yeah, one of the platforms we didn't mention, but travel and the hospitality industry does really well on Pinterest. So, but that's a platform that's easy to get into, but and easy to get results for traffic to websites. But it's a little more hands-on, and to really understand how it works is a little harder. It's not necessarily, they don't call themselves a social media platform anymore. They call themselves a search engine, a visual search engine. So understanding how it works, a lot of changes have happened in Pinterest. But if you have a travel blog, or you have a hotel blog or a restaurant blog, I highly recommend you look at Pinterest as well. That's a great place to be for traffic to your website.
All right. So guys, I think we must thank our panelists here for today who have given us quality 1 hour, 15 minutes time of theirs from their busy schedule, because these guys are very busy these days. I know Google is not performing too well, and all these social channels are doing extremely well. So these guys are busy even if we are not. So I'm sure you have added a lot of value in today's conversation and the questions we have taken, because I have found it very valuable. And coming it from Designhill, we are reaching more than 2.5 million people every month in terms of through our social accounts, and on our digital platform also we have like 1 million unique visitors every month. So thank you so much, guys, and this brings us to the end of this wonderful discussion, this power pack discussion, where we had Andrew, Brooke, Dorian, Kate, and Christian with us. So we answered a lot of questions about the best practices and techniques for social media marketing. Although there is a lot more that we could have discussed, and we could have taken a lot more questions from the question section here. I'm sorry to you guys that we could not take any of these, but I'm sure we have addressed your each and every concern to a larger extent. So I hope you guys have loved this. And once again, I would like to thank our panelists for taking out the time today and be part of this discussion. So now I'm going to ask every panelist here to say bye to the viewers, and if they want the viewers to follow them on their social accounts, where they can ask you more questions and take inspiration from your accounts and really get the answer of their daily business strategies and the needs they have. So Brooke, please go ahead.
Hi, so Brooke Sellis, my company is B Squared Media, and if you go to bsquared.media, you'll actually find all of my platforms, but essentially you could also just Google Brooke Sellis. I think I'm like the only one out there, and you'll be able to find all of my social channels. Thank you.
Andrew.
My Twitter handle is my last name, @Crestodina, spelled like it sounds. LinkedIn is really by far my best network, and I write my best advice in an article every 2 weeks at orbitmedia.com.
Dorian, please go ahead.
So I'm more in media everywhere, and that's the name of my company. But like Brooke, I have a pretty unique name, Doreen Moore and Van Dam. So you see the orange glasses, it's me. So thank you for being here. I saw some great questions, your follow-up questions. Connect with me either on Facebook or LinkedIn. It's a great place. And I just wanted to say, bye, everybody.
So Van Damme's video still is the most watched video on YouTube. The ad of Volvo, I'm sure you guys remember, which was one of the most viral ad campaigns that we have ever seen on the social media. So Christian, please go ahead and say bye to the audience, and please add your social media channels to the conversation where they can follow you.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining us. Thanks for having me. Yeah, Christian Danner again. It's another unique name with the spelling. So best place to find me is on LinkedIn. Yeah, send me a connection request. It'd be great to have you as part of my network.
Kate, where can we get you talking more?
So I'm Kate Payne, and my business is standingoutonline.com, where I help you do just that. I primarily live on LinkedIn, so you can connect with me there at Kate Payne, Paine. And any of the questions that were asked today, if anybody wants to ask me via LinkedIn, I'll try to answer them for you. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, everybody. So, all right, guys, this is not where it ends. We have a lot more events lined up in the coming days. The next event is on the future of work with Ryan Rogar, who's the founder at Teammate, on 11th of June. We also have a panel discussion coming up on customer experience in today's era on 19th of June. So if you guys are interested and haven't registered yet, I'm putting the link of our event section in the chat section where you can find all of our upcoming events and register there. To stay updated with events like these, you can follow us on LinkedIn page. You can also give suggestions on the topics you would like us to cover and the speakers you want us to host. And I'm also dropping the link of our LinkedIn page in the chat section here. To watch this session and other wonderful videos, like all of the, I could see questions that where we can see this entire conversation because a lot of people have joined in late. So you can watch this entire video on our official YouTube channel. It's by the name of Designhill. So you can go there and watch this in our events playlist. For all the business owners who are out there who are listening to this and who would watch this on our YouTube channel and all the digital and social platforms, and who want to source high quality designs remotely and build their brands to the best of their capabilities by immensely talented designers and artists and creative people all across the world who are registered on Designhill. So you can go ahead and click on www.designhill.com. So on that note, I would like to say bye to everyone who joined us here today. Take care, guys, and stay safe. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.